that's when it was, so that was kind of a big turning point for me. They were still my only caregivers going into sophomore year, but then it was like because we were kind of figuring out like, okay, what's the next step of like how do you even like find outside caregivers? Because this is the other thing about living in disability world is like they don't really give you any kind of roadmap, and like every in the US it's like every state is different as far as like what services you qualify for, all this stuff. And so it was just a lot of learning and trial and error, but finally in the summer between my sophomore and junior year of college, I started hiring outside caregivers, and so we went through an agency, and it was, I mean, it was a very nerve-wracking experience at first. It was like, because at that point, like, my mom's best friend had done some of my care, like, occasionally, like, on weekends and stuff, so my parents could go on a trip, things like that. But for the most part, it was like only my parents knew how to do my intimate, care needs. And
Mhm.
so opening that up to strangers was a big deal. But this is actually what's crazy is it led to one of the first people I ever hired. Is actually still with me today. He's I've known Randy. I've known for over 12 years now. It's great. And so and yeah, so he because found him through an agency initially. He was actually on the way out of being CNA, but he kind of like just stumbled across me. We hit it off right away. He's an extremely irreverent dude. That like we just like went to the same high school as my sister. They weren't in the same class, but they, he on there. So he grew up here as well, and yeah, hired others as well. But yeah, that was honestly a big turning point for me, getting this independence, like still living at home, but by having outside caregivers come in, it just opened up a lot of opportunity for me, for my parents. Because like I said, it wasn't that I felt like I was ever a burden to them. But it was just like, the practicality of, okay, they can't be my only caregivers forever. And also I want to have like, freedom to go stay out late and, go, be driven around. And yeah, I mean, I mean, I could do a whole podcast on this. So like, but I've had all kinds of caregivers, ranging from great to horrible to like all over the
Yeah.
place. But it was definitely one of the best decisions I ever made. I was also able to hire a couple of my good friends to as like caregivers to drive me around and stuff like that. So they would drive me to and from campus. It allowed me to do late production nights at Technician, stuff like that. So gaining a lot more independence was huge for me. I think at first I didn't need, I was like too caught up in the adrenaline of it to really focus on all the nuances of how to not only manage a team and manage like my own responsibilities, and also like treat them with respect. Like, not that I disrespected them, but I think there were
Mhm.
times like that first year where I just like would kind of schedule them for stuff without asking them first. That was a lesson I learned early on. It was like, okay, you got to have this like you have to be 100% on top of communication when you're
Yeah.
managing a team of caregivers. You have to respect their time. Make that, and so that's something I learned early on. But yeah, it just opened up, and then yeah, Randy then ended up staying with me for 7 years, and then he and his wife left for about 3.5 years to go do commercial truck driving. But then they actually came back last year, and some stuff happened in their lives and stuff. So they're back here now. So he's actually working with me again. So that's been great too. And before that, I worked with students a lot. So like like a lot of nursing students I had for several years there. And that was a great experience as well. So yeah, it's a whole it finding outside caregivers is like a very nerve-wracking experience, but it's also very rewarding once you find the right people, because it really does open up a lot of opportunities for relationships, for independence, all of that. So that
Yeah.
was a big turning point for me.
When you said you had your mental breakdown, like what was
Mhm.
that process like? Like how did you get through that process?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. Like, I mean, as far as like when it just happened, it was just like yeah, it was just a meltdown. Like I was just like, right, and like I think I said something to my mom of like, because my parents were like didn't know what happened. Like they just saw me like, really like sobbing, mentally distraught, and like they didn't know what was going on, and like I needed like a few minutes just to myself to just kind of get it out. Then I kind of went out to them and like just said like, I tried to explain that I wasn't upset about like one thing in particular, but it was just like everything was like culminating, and so yeah, it was I think after that I sought out more counseling. I had like, like pastor friend and stuff like that. That like I think it was a turning point for me to like start talking about the nuances of my life and disability with other people who I hadn't really opened up to about as much before, because like I said, in high school and stuff like that, like of course I would gripe about the same things everyone else was, like, oh, I can't stand this class, or I can't stand that, all that stuff. But I wasn't, like I said, the respiratory issues and stuff I was having. I don't think I really talked about that even with close friends when I was in high school. And like occasionally I'd open up, but I don't know if it was just a fear of like people not understanding, or if I was like drawing attention to myself. I don't know what the like, what kind of kept me from, but it definitely made me to, want to talk about this stuff more, not, code everything with just dark humor and stuff like that, because I'm really good at that as well. But like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean that it just kind of that, as far as the process, it just kind of helped me get to a place of like opening up more about my struggles, and that, through that I was able to find like other people, would open up to me more and stuff like that, and it was a really good, to it's I that's the number one thing I would say to people, like not just with disabilities but just anyone, is like, don't bottle stuff in. It's not good for anyone.
Yeah.
Find people you can talk to, whether it's a therapist, whether it's, counselors, whatever, friends, family, just a little bit out each day of like actually expressing what's going on, what you're thinking.